Ladies, we're ready.
Good morning.
Congratulations, when are you due? Good day. Well, welcome to another episode of Good Day. My name is Daniel Bennett. It's great to have you join us today. And this show is really about focusing on how to enjoy life with God more. You know, I think one of the best ways to be a light in this world is to show people how good life can be. And that won't happen if we only focus on the negative. There's place for that. Sometimes we need to focus on what's wrong so we know how to fix things. We need to do something about those things. But we also need to be energized by being excited about just how much we're enjoying abundant life, how much we're enjoying how good life can be, and we're showing people that we have something that's worth having, that our way of going about things is something that would bless them also. And so, and many times focusing on the positive is what ends up inspiring us to solve problems, because we want more people to enjoy the good things the way they can be, whether it's from family or fun or just life in general and community, all kinds of stuff. And so I think you're going to enjoy today's episode, and we'll see you right after this.
You know, life is tougher than an overcooked $2 steak. But keeping a good attitude, well, that just keeps it all in perspective. How to stay positive in a negative world. Log on to gooddayGTN.com to get your free copy today.
Well, welcome back. Our guest today is a friend that I've known for 15, 16 years now.
Yes, something like that.
First met you in Russia, but it's Valentina Sotkina. Is that how you say your last name?
Yes.
Awesome. And so usually I just call you Valia.
Yeah.
But Valentina, I met her first in Russia. Let's see. I was on my first mission trip with 𝗂𝒃 in second year. So that was in like 2009.
2009?
Yeah. And so, but you were one of the interpreters. So I first met you there on mission trips, and then when I spent a year in Russia. And many of the funny stories that I share with students here that happened in Russia, she was there in almost all of my funny stories.
And all of the stories.
Yeah. And so you've known Mike and Carrie even longer, right?
Yes.
And so when did you first meet them?
I've met Carrie first time in 2003. She came into the church that I went to. So, and that's where we met. First time.
Yeah, and so you've done a lot of ministry stuff with them. You've been an interpreter and done other stuff also.
Traveled different places and translated and stuff, ministry.
Yeah. Did you ever do any of the mission trips outside of Russia?
Yeah, we went to Africa, Congo, we went to Kyrgyzstan, and I almost went to India, but I was not able to, so. But.
Yeah, very cool. And so a while back you've moved to the United States, and you're on staff here now. You helped,
Yes.
so I think, did you do third year here also?
Yeah, I did the third year media here, and now I'm doing media.
Yeah, and what's your role now? So are you an editor or producer?
No, I'm just here on staff. I'm one of the techs, and I just make sure things don't break.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool because I remember back in Russia, 15, 16 years ago, when you were just like kind of dabbling, learning some stuff like this, and to see how how now you're like one of the people helping run stuff and making sure things go smoothly. It's pretty cool. So I remember like when you were like learning how to use Photoshop and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a journey. It was like about Mike and Carrie wanted to translate, like record themselves and with the translation. And so they asked me like, here's the camera, can you record? And it's the first time in my life I probably held the camera. I'm like, okay. So I put it on a tripod and I tried to put it in. The room was awful, the lighting was awful. Back then I didn't know that. I was just excited to try this camera and stuff. We recorded the first video and we tried to translate it and it was awful. I was so dissatisfied with my work. I'm like, okay, I need to study this camera. And that's how everything started. Like I started to grow in this, so yeah.
Yeah, well, it's very cool. And when was it again that you moved to the U.S.? Like long term?
2018.
Okay, because you used to visit every now and then, but then it's 2018 you came here and stayed.
Yeah, I visited over here in summer times and it was like my vacation. And then God told me, you need to move this year. I think it was like 2016 or 17 when he said, you're supposed to move to United States. And I said, no, I like this country as a vacation. I don't think I want to move because at this point in my life, I was actually very satisfied where I was. I was doing the media. We're starting a new media department in display in the, 𝗬𝗂𝒃 Bible College in St. Petersburg, Russia. We were, we're buying new equipment. I had a couple people that I was training to run the whole thing. We just kept growing and I just got my driving license. I just bought myself a new car and I just rented a nice big apartment. And God says, move. I left my car at my apartment after everything. Came over here with nothing. 2 suitcases, that's it. A year later, honestly, I was in disobedient for a whole year. I was literally saying no. And I told nobody that God told me, so nobody's trying to like persuade me.
Right.
Like, come on, you have to follow him. Like, until one lady in our office, she's just like, Valia, I think God is trying to tell me to tell you something. Like, like in the middle of the workday, we're both like on computers, just working so hard. And she's just like out of nowhere, she says that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, God wants you to be somewhere else. I'm like, for everybody, God wants, But then she's like, no, he wants you like to be like doing something different. I'm like, yeah, that's probably, yeah, sure. I'm like, and then she says this. She says, actually, you're not supposed to be in this country right now. And I'm like, excuse me? She's like, God tells you, you're not supposed to be in this country right now.
Wow.
And so I'm like, well, so and then I just asked God 3 things. I asked God, I know I'm negotiating with him a lot. So I asked him 3 things. I said, I need Russian-speaking people. I need car. I need place to live. That's all. And first one was provided the car. My friend's husband, I knew him for a while. He literally called 2 weeks before I was coming over here to the United States, saying God told me to buy a new car. Was not a new car, but buy a new car. So, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then, Mike and Carrie provided place for me to live. When I came over here, first thing, like when I came even to 𝗂𝒃 over here, just to the conference, first thing that somebody came over and said, there's this Russian couple who really wants to meet you. I think they saw you, heard you in something, and they just want to see you. And they're like starting this Russian group over there that you should come over to. And I'm like, okay, I'm moving.
Yeah.
So, and I made the plans and I moved over here.
It's very cool. I remember the first time I saw you here, it's one of those like worlds colliding thing where I was like, wait, I know, whenever you meet somebody in one context, but then you see them in another context, you're like, what's going on? My worlds are crashing together. But it's been very, so first time it shocked me, now I see all the time.
I was thinking about like you, Mike and Carrie, and when I've met you guys first time, like in the other part of the world, where different language and everything, different culture and stuff, and now we're all actually here.
Yeah.
Like back then when I would talk to you somewhere, like or walk in the winter time to the rehabilitation center, I would never there's no conversation such as like, hey Daniel, I'm gonna see you in 10 years, at 𝗂𝒃 talking to you in this table right here, I'll see you then. There was no such thing. But
back then we were on your turf. Now we're on my turf. So back then you'd be like, I remember like right before I left, that you took, I think me and another friend, to this place where they serve these like really cool little treats and pastries and coffee and all this stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. I've known about this all along. And I was like, you wait till the day before I leave to tell me about this awesome place that I could have come here this whole year.
I did it intentionally, of course.
Right. You're like, I want to keep this a secret. Yeah, but no, you used to give us good advice to not get in trouble. You're like, that's not a good idea, or maybe you shouldn't go there. Yeah.
We still would get in trouble, but you know.
Yeah, you kept us out of a
On
lot
my
of
terms.
trouble. Yeah. So what are some of like, I know you used to visit here a lot, so maybe things didn't catch you off guard as much, but when you moved over here, what are some of the biggest cultural differences that you noticed between St. Petersburg and here?
Much more people smiling and saying, hi, how are you? And
I think you even asked me once, you're like, why do Americans smile so much all the time?
yes.
Yeah, now you're here and you're like,
Yeah,
everyone does it.
in Russian culture, when people smile so much, they're probably cuckoo, you know? So, and they're supposed to be in a different place. They're not supposed to walk on the streets and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
If they laugh so much. So here, everybody's smiling. And one thing is also, is that people looking at your eyes. They're like, hey, how are you? Like this. You're just like, oh my gosh. You know, it's like, why are you, like, do I know you type thing? Like, have we met before and stuff? And the second one was probably like, yeah, people would say, hey, how are you? And my response would be like, oh, I'm great. You know, day was great. And I'm like, but they just keep walking. And you're just like in a little shock. You're just like, okay.
That one caught me off guard. Because I didn't, when people said, how's it going or how are you? I didn't realize they didn't care.
Right.
Because I didn't grow up here either. And I was like, why would you ask me that if you don't care?
It's like, that's like, yeah, in Russia, if you ask somebody, how are you, you first of all know this person a little more than just, hi, how are you? You know this person at least like he's your coworker or neighbor or something, and you've talked before type thing. So you're just asking about their day type thing, you know, and stuff. Here, it's only two reasons is, hey, how are you? And they pass you by, it's like one reason. Another reason is worse, I think, is that when they say, hey, how are you? And they stop and look at you. Because after that, there's a question or request that they want to make of you.
I just might be here at work. How are you? Yeah. I need you to do something for me.
Exactly. Hey, how are you? And I would just start, and they were like, yeah. So, and I'm, you know, like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing is that if you actually want a real answer, you have to phrase it differently. It's like, how have you been lately?
Yes.
Then people realize, oh, this isn't just, you're not just saying it.
Yeah, I guess so. I tricked people sometimes. I would actually make them to stop and listen to my conversation about my morning, for example, you know, and they're like, yeah, but they answered to them.
And I was just telling Ashley, my wife, that I was like, in Russia, one thing that I enjoyed is that when you went to McDonald's there, if you sit down at a table, if there's an empty chair, someone else will just sit there. And here it's like, if I'm at a table, if I'm at a table for six people, no one will sit next to you. That's your table. And there, so you sit down at a table and someone just sits down right next to you and starts eating, and they might even start chatting with you. Or maybe it's just because I was a foreigner. But I really liked that. I liked that it felt a bit more like a community thing. Of like, if there's a chair, I'll sit in it and I'll chat with you. Here it's like, leave me alone. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the person.
Another thing that I've noticed, like one thing like very interesting that I've noticed here, McDonald's. So there was one time that I was standing in line at McDonald's, and there was a cop standing right behind me in line. And I'm telling you, my back was sweating. And I was like standing over there, like not moving. Because in Russia, cops, if they're standing behind you, that means they're going to put the hand on your shoulder and say, passport, please. You know, and you're just like, huh? You know, like this. And he was standing all this time, and all this time I was just like, I was so nervous, like he's going to ask me, he's going to stop me, he's going to ask for a document. Like I was like not enjoying this.
He's probably just thinking about what to eat.
Exactly. And then he just walks, you know, he's just like a normal person. Hi, how are you? Can I have this and that? He orders and leaves. I'm like, oh. Then I realized actually police over here is different than in Russia, you know. And I noticed that police over here is really like after bad people, mostly. where police were there is after people's money, bribe and everything, and it's very different. Like I heard one of the policemen over here said to me once, he's like, here police is to protect people, but in my culture in Russia, oops, I'm not gonna speak from my heart.
Hit your microphone.
Yeah, I'm like speaking. But in my country, police is to protect government, and that's exactly they openly say. We're here to protect and defend government. Against who? I don't know. Us? I don't know. But it's another thing that I really noticed over here. So
yeah,
culturally.
Yeah, lots of difference. I haven't been there in so long that I don't. Yeah. I don't know what it's like there now, but I loved it. I thought it was beautiful, and the people are very friendly. Even though, like you're saying, they don't like here we smile more in public, and there they don't. Once you get to know people, they're incredibly friendly. I think it's my take on it was that when you're in public, it's more like you're at the library, where it's polite to just kind of mind your own business.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more nuance to it, but I found people were incredibly friendly once you get to know them and all that. So let me ask you a little bit about interpreting. Okay. So I was an interpreter for a time in Spanish in Latin America, but when I was in Russia, I needed an interpreter. That's actually part of why I went to Russia, is that I could choose between multiple mission trips. And I was like, I don't want to go to a Latin American country because that feels like home. I want to go someplace that stretches me out of my comfort zone. So that's part of why I chose Russia. Because I was like, I'm usually the interpreter. I want to need an interpreter to know how helpless it feels. And how did you enjoy interpreting? Because you did that for a while and you're very good at it. And you helped me so much. I mean, I actually don't know what I taught. You might have had your own messages for years.
Well, my job as an interpreter was make you sound good,
smart.
Make me
and
sound
smarter than I am. Yeah.
Ice impressions.
You fixed my doctrine.
Yes, that was my job. But no, I think I loved translating mostly for you guys is because the word that you were teaching, I knew how much it was important for Russians to hear because it was the word of grace and faith. And I was the one in the process of also understanding this as well, like the revelations, all of the new revelations that you guys would bring, Mike, Carrie, you and others, is like, it's just such a revelation to me. If you remember, like sometimes I would even stop and I would like, no way! Everybody's like, what is going on? I was like, this is so awesome. Right. And then I would translate because I get excited about the word, and stuff. And I knew how Russians would, that is probably like, I loved translating the word and the grace and faith, message to the Russians that was, and seeing their faces like, oh, like this, it's just a golden.
And so when I interpreted, it was always hardest if there were people in the audience who also spoke both languages. Because I was like, when I'm in the audience and I speak both languages, I'm judging that interpreter. I'm like, that's not how you should have interpreted that. That's not what I would have said. And so then when you do it, you realize like, oh my goodness, they're all judging me. So how was that for you? It
was the same for me because I was a beginner interpreter back then as well. And so there were other interpreters who probably would have done a better job. But I guess you guys like me so much that you choose me. But, and yes, you could see actually judgment on the interpreters. Or maybe it was me like thinking, they're judging my translation.
But it's hard in the moment. It's easier when you're watching.
It's very hard, yes.
It's much easier to watch and judge.
You go in a village and there's, there's people and you're the only who knows 2 languages. You're great, like this. But then when you're like at the Bible school where there's a couple more interpreters who is like just also listening, you're just like, oh my gosh, I messed up this one, I messed up that one, I'm sure I messed up this one. So, yes, it's hard.
So what's the funniest thing that's happened to you interpreting? Or one of the worst things that happened?
I think I interpreted the whole sentence. I need to remember the sentence. I don't remember the subject. But what I did, this is what happened. I think I interpreted the sentence from the person. Was it Carrie? So interpreting the sentence that I did it wrong, but I went on with it. Meaning, I felt so bad. She kept talking, and I was just trying to develop my own story to build up to what she was already saying right. Because the more she was saying, I realized the first sentence that came everything from was actually wrong.
If you misunderstand.
I misunderstood the content or something, and I was just like, tuk, 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 and I tried to develop, and I'm like, okay, Carrie, I'm sorry, stop. What are you talking about? Everybody's like, what? She's like, what? Like this. I think it was her. It was a woman for sure, I remember that. But it was one of my most embarrassing moments.
Yeah, hopefully no one catches you.
Yeah. One funny word that I did not know what it meant. I called myself once eunuch.
I'm unique.
Instead of unique,
I'm
yes.
eunuch.
And I was so proud of it. It's amazing. It's like, please, no, you're not. And I was so upset that they're saying I'm not eunuch. You know, what do you mean? You used to say that I'm a eunuch. No, we didn't say that. So
Yes.
that's kind of funny.
So my reverse one, once I spoke at a church in Russia, and it wasn't you interpreting, somebody else from that church. And I didn't realize until about 3 sentences in, they didn't actually speak English. They sort of spoke English, but the minute I started using any of my normal words, they had no clue what I was saying, and they just look at me like, I don't know what you mean. And I kept having to change it, and then I could tell that they gave up and they just made something up. And so I was like, I have no idea what people heard, because they were like, I don't understand a thing, so I'm just going to kind of make up a message about God's love or something.
Well, I hope
was
they
like,
understood the grace and
yeah,
love
I was
of
like,
God to
yeah.
make a message.
I don't know if they did.
No, that was only this one time that I actually made it up, and then even then I just gave up. I stopped, and I'm like, okay, please tell me what you're saying, because I'm
Right.
totally off,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff.
Well, some people don't know how to use an interpreter. And
Yes,
they
this
either
is
go
true.
too short or they go way
So
too long.
true.
And,
So
and I
true.
think it's probably just shorter is harder. If they say 3 words, like,
Correct.
and God told me, and you're like, I need the thought.
Yeah, and
Tell me the whole thought.
remember how I would say like more, a little more. I need the context. Like I
Yeah.
need to build it up.
And then some will do like a whole paragraph and you
And he's
forget
like,
half of what they said. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So do you
a
want to
skill.
do any of these?
Sure.
Okay, so these
Yep.
are lighthearted ones. These are deeper ones. And I will kick things off with a
Sure.
funny one. So what's the most unusual or funny thing you've ever done with friends? It's pretty broad.
It's very broad, unusual and funny. On one of my trips to Chicago, I TP'd somebody's house.
Through toilet
And I did
paper
it
all
with the
over
teenage kids because I didn't know what the TP is.
Right.
I actually did not understand this. So they took me on this journey. It was like 12 a.m. Okay, the funny part is the house we TP'd is the church where I was supposed to share my testimony, and they were pastors of the church. It was the most embarrassing moment in my life.
They catch you.
They're like, we're gonna do this. And actually one of them, the husband actually came out of the house like, oh, what the heck, who's doing that? We were like stuck in the forks, you know, throwing the paper,
Oh, wow, that's-
toothpaste. You know?
Wow.
And I was so excited, American
Oh,
experience.
they're gonna love this. Yeah.
They're gonna love this. And I didn't realize the next morning we're going to the church of the pastors. We just TP'd their house.
Wow, that's I'm glad you don't know where I live.
Yeah. I shared my testimony, and then I had a conversation after. I'm glad that they didn't do it before, because it will be like the most.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that tradition came from.
I don't know either, but
Yeah.
you know, you would never do such thing in Russia.
Right? Oh,
like-
well, I wouldn't do that here.
Yeah, TP. I didn't understand that's a toilet paper
Right.
in a house, so I'm like,
Yeah.
okie dokie.
I'd never heard about that. During COVID, that could be like a crime because you waste so much toilet paper. Like, that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth. Yeah.
Person was arrested for TP in house during
Yeah.
the COVID time.
So let me ask you. So, what are some of your hobbies? What are some things you did for fun that you used to do that they don't do in the U.S. and what are have you picked up any new hobbies since you've been in the U.S.?
So, I did drawing, a lot of drawing in Russia, and not much actually. I was really busy. Like I was literally like full time.
Yeah.
Actually, at Bible college, just doing things.
Mm-hmm. Makes
and
sense.
yeah, I was just so in it that
Working for fun all day.
working for fun all day.
Good preparation for now.
Yeah, totally. Well, right now I picked up. Actually, I started to do kickboxing.
Really? Oh, yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, kickboxing to Muay Thai
But you used to.
to stay fit.
Yeah. You used to do martial arts.
Yes.
Right. Are you
A
black belt
while
or something?
while ago.
A long time ago.
A long time
But
ago.
you used to, yeah, but you used to be a fighter. I remember that. That's why you were also my bodyguard while I was out there. I was like, that's what you say.
Yes.
Why did they always choose me to interpret? We're like, well, she's our bodyguard and interpreter.
This is probably true because I would fight off all the picketers.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that because
yeah.
we'd be in a subway and you'd be like, stay away from that person. They're pickpocketing.
Yes.
And it's like you just knew.
I'll be like, okay, let's go to this doors over here.
Yeah.
And some teams will come and some Americans will come and they would be like, argue with me, like, why? It's okay.
Right.
And oh, I tell you one fun story about this. Gosh, what's his name? Okay, one of the guys. So what happened is this. I told everybody, this is the pact, like, this is the rush hour pact, metro station, please stay put, backpacks up front, hide your cameras, everything, we're going touring, but please don't act like tourists. Well, one of the guys decided he's fine. He put his camera into the pocket. And so he literally walked in and I'm like, oh my gosh. And this was a big group of pickpocketers, how they split, they walk in with you and half of them stay outside and they grab everything from the people and start to pass on. The doors close and when you blame them like you did it, they're like, we don't have anything type thing. So, but this time, what happened is this, he felt like somebody pulling out his camera and it was like the most amazing moment for me. I'm like, that was so cool. So, Cecil Paxton.
Okay.
Cecil Paxton, I'm just trying to remember the name. He literally like grabbed this guy like this and he just like, boom! And then during that time, he was even able to grab a camera out of his hand. And the guy just flew across outside and everybody's like, what just happened? And I'm like, this is so awesome. Right. That was probably the best in my life. Everybody else is like just,
Right. I know I found people think that it's hard to like lead a bunch of children. It's way harder to lead a bunch of adults. Because they're like, I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little young girl who's like, what do you have to tell me? Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you, so when you feel overwhelmed, what are some things that you do to get back on track and think clearly again?
I walk. I just go on a walk. And I look around. I look at the sky. I love clouds. My friends always blame me for clouds. But I look at the clouds. I just outdoors. I have to like breathe air, just walk.
So if you're at work and something's going wrong, you just leave the building and everyone thinks you quit.
I did over here. I probably did it only twice. And yes, I just walked outside. And I took a walk and I came back and I was fine.
I like to do that one too.
Yeah.
I love walks. It's a great way to clear your head and clear your thoughts.
That's the only way because, or you just like say everything's gonna be okay. And you just like turn off all your emotions and everything. You just like focus on something physical, like little things like. Okay, like this. So that's what I do.
Switch focus.
Switch
I like
focus,
it.
yeah.
It's good. Well, we're out of time. Thanks so much for joining. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time.
Thank you.
Yeah, we I think we held back a little bit on some of the funny stories.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, thanks, Valia. And thank you all for joining us. Hope you're enjoying GTN or enjoying these shows. And don't forget, today's going to be a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.